Okay, let's be honest. How many times have you said, I'll be productive later, only to find yourself scrolling through social media at the end of the day feeling guilty and unaccomplished? We've all been there.
Yeah, we all have.
But today, we're diving into productivity hacks that actually work.
That's right.
No fluff strategies from entrepreneurs who build million-dollar businesses and productivity gurus who have kind of cracked the code.
What's fascinating is that a lot of these strategies, they're not really about adding more to your plate.
Right.
It's more about understanding how your mind works.
Yeah.
And using those insights to your advantage.
You sent over some awesome material to work through.
Absolutely.
Especially that video from Iman Gadzhi, 7 productivity hacks that made me a millionaire.
Yeah.
Along with some insights from Chris Williamson, Alex Hormozi, Ali Abdaal, and James Clear.
It's a great lineup.
It really is
Yeah.
our mission to help you cut through the noise and discover strategies that resonate with you,
That's it.
so you can finally ditch those bad habits and achieve your goals.
Right.
First up, let's tackle a hack that might sound kind of counterintuitive.
Okay.
Iman Gadzhi emphasizes that the key to productivity isn't waiting for motivation. It's just starting to work.
Right.
Have you ever found yourself procrastinating on a task? Convincing yourself you need like the perfect setup or the right mood to begin?
Oh, yeah. It's a classic trap.
Right.
And, it ties into this concept of activation energy, that initial push it takes to start any task. Think about how much effort it takes to get out of bed on a cold morning.
Yeah.
But once you're up, you're up.
You're up.
And the same principle applies to work.
It does. It really does.
Yeah.
This reminds me when I first started writing, I'd waste hours rearranging my desk, making coffee, anything to avoid actually sitting down and writing.
Sure.
Gadzhi's advice to just start, even if it feels forced at first.
Yeah.
Completely changed my approach.
There's a neurological basis for this as well.
Right.
When we engage in a task, even if we're initially resistant, our brain releases dopamine, a neurotransmitter associated with motivation and reward.
So it actually feels good
In a sense, yeah.
to start working.
Well, to continue working. So the more we procrastinate, the harder it becomes to start. But once we take action, our brain actually rewards us for it.
So the secret is tricking our brains into enjoying the process.
In a way, yes.
Wow.
The initial discomfort of starting a task
Yeah.
often fades pretty quickly as we get into the flow of it.
Okay. I'm convinced.
Good.
No more waiting for inspiration to strike.
I like it.
Now let's move on to a hack that leverages our brain's natural tendencies.
Okay,
The Zeigarnik effect. You've probably heard of this one, right?
for sure.
It's the idea that our brains are wired to remember unfinished tasks more vividly than completed ones.
Exactly. Chris Williamson and Alex Hormozi,
Yeah.
they talked about this in one of their videos. And it's such a powerful concept.
Really is.
Instead of trying to, force ourselves to complete every task in one go, we can intentionally leave things slightly unfinished to tap into this effect.
So if I'm working on a presentation and I hit a roadblock,
Yeah.
instead of getting frustrated and giving up,
Yeah.
I should intentionally stop mid-slide and come back to it later.
Precisely by leaving an open loop, you create this sense of tension in your mind
Okay.
that makes it more likely that you'll return to finish the task.
Interesting.
Think about it like a cliffhanger in your favorite TV show.
Oh, yeah.
It keeps you on the edge of your seat, eagerly anticipating the next episode.
Right.
Well, your brain does the same thing with unfinished tasks.
Wow.
It's like leaving a breadcrumb trail for your mind to follow back to the task.
This is making me rethink my entire to-do list.
Yeah.
I always try to power through tasks, even when I'm feeling drained. Maybe strategically leaving some things unfinished is the key to staying motivated and engaged.
It's definitely worth experimenting with.
Okay.
Now, every strategy works for everyone.
Right.
But understanding the psychology behind our productivity
Can help us tailor our approach and find what truly works for us.
All right, let's move on to a hack that both Gadzhi and Hormozi emphasize.
Okay.
The importance of hard work. They stress that there are no shortcuts to success.
Right.
It's about consistent, dedicated effort.
Yeah.
Sometimes hustle culture can feel a little overwhelming.
Yeah, they can.
But both Gadzhi and Hormozi, they advocate for working smarter, not necessarily harder.
This is where systems and routines come in.
Yeah,
It's not about burning yourself out.
right.
It's about creating sustainable habits that support your goals.
So how do we find that balance between hustling and working smart? I know I've definitely fallen into the trap of working long hours without seeing much progress.
Yeah, it's about understanding your peak productivity times.
Okay.
and focusing on your most important tasks during those windows. It's also about learning to delegate or automate tasks that don't require your unique skills and expertise.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's not just about working hard.
It's about working hard on the right things at the right times.
Absolutely.
I think that's a key takeaway for our listeners.
For sure.
Efficiency is just as important as effort.
Absolutely. Working smart isn't about avoiding hard work.
Yeah.
It's about maximizing your impact and achieving your goals in a way that's sustainable and fulfilling.
I like that a lot.
Good.
Speaking of distractions, let's talk about Gadzhi's advice to unhook from YouTube's algorithm.
Oh, yeah.
We've all been there. You open YouTube to watch a quick tutorial, and suddenly you're 3 hours deep into conspiracy theories about the Bermuda Triangle.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
It's a testament to how powerful those algorithms are.
Really are.
They're designed to keep us engaged, not necessarily informed or productive.
So true.
What's interesting is that Gadzhi himself admits to using extensions like Unhooked to minimize distractions, even though it means people might watch fewer of his videos.
It's a powerful reminder that we all struggle with distractions.
For sure.
Even those who seem incredibly productive.
Yeah.
Gadzhi stresses that YouTube is primarily entertainment, not education.
Yeah.
And we need to be mindful of how we consume content.
I think this applies to all social media platforms, really.
Okay.
We need to become more aware of how algorithms shape our behavior and make conscious choices about how we spend our time online.
So are we suggesting a total YouTube detox?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
It's about finding a balance and being intentional with our media consumption.
Right.
Tools like Unhooked can help us reclaim our attention and use YouTube more strategically.
All right, challenge accepted. I'm downloading Unhooked right after this.
Good.
Now let's talk about nighttime routines.
Okay.
Gadzhi suggests planning your day the night before, claiming that something magical happens when you set intentions before sleep.
There's a scientific basis for this as well.
Really?
When we pre-plan, we're essentially priming our subconscious minds to work on those tasks while we sleep.
He recommends writing down 3 to 5 key tasks for the next day. What's fascinating here is how it sets the stage for a productive morning by giving your brain a head start, almost like preheating the oven before you bake.
Exactly.
Right.
It's all about setting yourself up for success.
I love that analogy. It makes so much sense.
Yeah.
No more waking up feeling overwhelmed and directionless.
Yeah.
Instead, you have a clear roadmap for the day ahead.
You got it.
And even if your plans change throughout the day, having that initial structure can help you stay grounded and make progress on your most important tasks. Okay, I'm convinced tonight I'm bitching the late night, scrolling and writing down my top priorities for tomorrow.
Awesome.
Now, this next hack might be a bit controversial for some food lovers out there.
Let me guess, are we talking about meal prepping?
You got it. Both Gadzhi and Hormozi advocate for viewing food primarily as fuel and streamlining meals to free up mental energy.
Right.
Does that mean giving up all those foodie adventures?
Not necessarily, enjoy those culinary explorations on your own time, but simplifying meals during your work week can be incredibly liberating.
Interesting.
It eliminates decision fatigue and frees up time for other things.
Right.
Think about how much time you waste each day just deciding what to eat.
Oh, I'm totally guilty of that.
Yeah.
I've definitely been in that situation where I spend an hour scrolling through food delivery apps.
Yeah.
Completely derailing my productivity for the rest of the day.
We've all been there.
And while food is certainly more than just fuel, recognizing its practical role during work hours can be a game changer.
It can be, for sure.
So it's about finding a balance.
Exactly. Meal prepping doesn't have to be boring either.
Right.
You can still create delicious and nutritious meals that fuel your body and mind without spending hours in the kitchen every day.
Okay, next up is a hack that might raise some eyebrows.
All right.
Embracing the simple uniform.
Okay.
What's fascinating here is that Gadzhi suggests wearing the same outfits at home to reduce decision fatigue.
It might sound strange at first.
It does.
But think about all the small decisions we make throughout the day that drain our mental energy.
Right.
By simplifying our wardrobe, we free up cognitive bandwidth for more important tasks.
Gadzhi swears by it, arguing that every decision, no matter how small, drains our mental energy. And honestly, I can relate. Some mornings, just choosing what to wear feels like a monumental task.
It's all about streamlining our lives.
Right.
And automating those low-stakes decisions to conserve energy for what truly matters.
This has got me thinking, do you think this principle applies to other areas of life beyond just clothing?
Absolutely.
Really?
From meal planning to organizing our workspaces, the fewer choices we have to make on autopilot, the more mental energy we have for creative thinking and problem solving.
This is already making me feel more productive.
Good.
Now let's move on to a concept from Abdaal that really resonated with me.
Okay.
The power of the daily highlight.
It's a brilliant way to prioritize and ensure that you accomplish at least one meaningful task each day.
So instead of getting bogged down by an endless to-do list, you choose one task that will make you feel most accomplished at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Abdaal stresses that it doesn't have to be work-related. It could be anything that feels meaningful to you, from finishing a creative project to calling a loved one.
Yeah.
Or simply taking a walk in nature.
You got it.
The key is to focus on what will bring you a sense of fulfillment, even if it's something small.
I love that.
Me too.
It shifts the focus from busy work to intentionality.
It does.
Yeah.
And even if you don't complete anything else on your list, achieving that one daily highlight can give you a sense of progress and momentum.
Absolutely.
I think our listeners are going to love this one.
For sure.
It's such a simple yet powerful shift in perspective.
It is.
This deep dive is already packed with actionable insights.
It is.
Now let's talk about a concept that both Abdaal and James Clear emphasize.
Okay.
Systems over goals.
This is a fundamental shift in thinking that can transform your approach to productivity.
So while goals provide direction, systems are the repeatable processes that drive progress.
Right. They argue that instead of fixating on the outcome, we should focus on building the habits and routines that will ultimately lead us there.
So it's like training for a marathon.
Exactly.
The goal is to finish the race.
Yeah.
But the system is the training plan that gets you there.
And it's those consistent efforts, those daily systems that create lasting change.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it's a powerful way to reframe our approach to success. It's not about achieving a single goal, but about cultivating a lifestyle that supports growth and progress.
I love that it takes the pressure off those big, audacious goals.
Yeah.
And focuses on the small, consistent actions that make a real difference.
Exactly. And it's those small actions compounded over time that lead to remarkable results. Good. You know, it's about shifting our focus from the destination to the journey. Recognizing that the habits and routines we build along the way are just as important as the goals themselves.
Okay, so let's talk about another aspect of this whole systems over goals approach.
Okay.
Gadzhi has some pretty strong opinions on social media, especially when it comes to TikTok. He suggests deleting it altogether unless it directly relates to your work.
Yeah.
I have to admit, this one makes me a little nervous.
I understand the hesitation. Social media, it can be a valuable tool, you know, for connection and entertainment.
Right.
But it can also be a major productivity black hole.
Gadzhi even says he rarely uses TikTok himself, even though his team manages his account.
Oh, wow.
He argues that the algorithm is designed to keep us hooked, often at the expense of our time and energy.
He's got a point. You know, it's easy to get sucked into those endless scrolling loops, consuming content that doesn't really add value to our lives.
But isn't staying connected with friends and family important too? I use TikTok to keep up with what everyone is doing, and I'd hate to lose touch with people.
Of course, connection is important, but there are more intentional ways to stay in touch without falling prey to those addictive algorithms. Think about scheduling phone calls or video chats with loved ones, or even planning in-person meetups.
Yeah.
You know, those interactions, they tend to be much more meaningful and fulfilling.
I'm starting to see the wisdom in this. Maybe it's not about deleting TikTok entirely, but about being more mindful of how I use it, perhaps setting time limits or consciously choosing to engage with content that's actually relevant to my interests or goals.
Exactly. It's about taking control of your digital consumption instead of letting it control you.
Right.
It's like anything else. Moderation and intentionality are key.
So social media isn't inherently bad.
Right.
It's how we use it that matters.
Exactly.
It's about recognizing when it's adding value to our lives versus simply distracting us from what's truly important.
Precisely. And that brings us to another social media hack from Gadzhi.
Okay.
Muting almost everyone on Instagram.
Whoa.
This might sound extreme, but it's based on the same principle of protecting our attention and energy.
Okay.
Yeah.
He argues that it's not about being rude or dismissive.
Right.
but about creating a more intentional online experience.
Exactly.
Instead of mindlessly scrolling through everyone's posts and stories,
Yeah.
we can choose to engage with accounts that truly inspire us or bring us joy.
It's about curating your feed to reflect your values and interests rather than feeling obligated to keep up with everyone's every move.
I'm starting to think a social media audit is in order. I follow so many accounts that I don't even really engage with anymore.
Yeah.
It's just noise cluttering up my feed.
It's a great idea to periodically reassess who you're following and why.
Right.
Ask yourself, is this account adding value to my life? Is it inspiring me, educating me, or making me laugh? If not, maybe it's time to hit that mute button.
This is making me realize how much mental energy I waste on social media without even realizing it.
It's true.
It's like my brain is constantly processing information that's not even relevant to me.
It's a form of mental clutter,
Yeah.
that can drain our focus and productivity without us even realizing it. By decluttering our digital lives, we create space for more intentionality and clarity.
Okay, I'm adding social media audit to my to-do list right now. Now let's shift gears and talk about morning routines.
Okay.
Gadzhi has a refreshing take on this. He debunks the myth of those elaborate multi-step routines
Yeah.
and advocates for a simpler approach.
He's right that a lot of morning routines out there are simply too complicated
Yeah.
and unsustainable for most people.
Yes.
The key is to find what works for you
Right.
and what you can realistically stick with.
Gadzhi's old routine involved journaling, coffee, and a personal training session. Now he starts with a cold plunge, a shower, and then some dedicated time for reflection and planning.
So what's interesting is that both routines prioritize physical and mental well-being, even though the activities themselves are different.
Yeah.
It's not about following a specific formula,
Okay.
but about finding activities that energize and focus you for the day ahead.
So if I hate cold plunges, I don't have to force myself to do them just because Gadzhi does.
Exactly. The point is to create a morning ritual that feels good for you,
Okay.
whether it's a quick workout, meditation, journaling, or simply enjoying a cup of coffee in silence. The goal is to create a sense of calm and intentionality before diving into the demands of the day.
I love that. It doesn't have to be this big elaborate production.
Right.
Even 15, 20 minutes of intentional me time can make a huge difference in how I approach the day.
Absolutely. It's about quality over quantity.
Yeah.
It's about finding those activities that help you feel grounded and focused.
Right.
So you can tackle your day with energy and intention.
Okay, I'm feeling inspired to revamp my morning routine. Now, Gadzhi has one more simple but effective hack.
Okay.
That's all about setting yourself up for success, laying out your clothes the night before.
It sounds so basic,
It does.
but it's a brilliant way to eliminate decision fatigue and streamline your mornings, especially if you're someone who works out in the morning.
Right.
It removes one less obstacle to getting started.
He says it reduces that barrier to entry,
Right.
making it more likely that you'll follow through with your workout plans.
Think about it when you're tired and groggy in the morning. Even the smallest decisions can feel overwhelming.
Right?
By removing that obstacle the night before, you make it that much easier to get yourself out the door and into the gym.
I can definitely relate to that. I've lost count of how many mornings I've wasted precious time staring blankly at my closet,
Sure.
wondering what to wear,
Yeah.
when I could have been doing something more productive.
It's those little moments of indecision
Yeah.
that can add up and drain our energy throughout the day.
To do.
By preparing the night before, we create a sense of flow and ease in our daily routines.
I love how all of these hacks are interconnected.
Me too.
They're not just isolated tips, but part of a larger philosophy of intentionality, consistency, and self-awareness.
Yeah.
It's about designing a life that feels both productive and fulfilling.
That's a great observation, and it's what makes these strategies so effective. They're not about quick fixes, but about building a lifestyle that supports sustainable success and well-being.
This deep dive has been a game changer. I feel like I've been given a toolkit for actually getting things done
Yeah.
instead of just feeling overwhelmed by my to-do list.
That's the goal.
And remember, there's no one-size-fits-all approach to productivity.
No, definitely not.
So true. It's about finding what works for you
Right.
and creating a system that supports your unique goals and lifestyle.
It's about understanding your own rhythms and tendencies, and then designing your days and weeks to maximize your energy and focus.
We've covered a lot of ground today, from the power of just starting to the importance of building systems and unhooking from those addictive algorithms.
For sure.
What's the most important takeaway you hope our listeners will remember?
I think it's the idea that productivity isn't about becoming a robot or sacrificing your well-being.
Right.
It's about aligning your actions with your values and creating a life that feels both productive and fulfilling.
I love that it's not just about getting things done.
Yeah.
It's about designing a life that you genuinely enjoy.
Exactly. It's about finding that sweet spot where you feel challenged and engaged, but not overwhelmed or burnt out.
This has been such an insightful conversation.
It has been.
I'm already feeling more motivated and equipped to tackle my goals in a way that feels sustainable and authentic.
I'm glad to hear that. And remember, the journey to productivity is ongoing.
Yeah.
It's about constantly experimenting, tweaking your approach, and celebrating those small wins along the way.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you found it as inspiring as we did.
Absolutely. And remember, the most important step is the next one. So go out there and start creating the life you want, one productive day at a time.